Okay. Now this meeting is being recorded. So, okay, I can start. Okay, so today we're doing Chaf Zayin or 27. And for those of you who are saying again, are we doing it again? So just out of interest, we have done it twice before, but not in the last 2 years. And I couldn't decide if we should do chapter 27 or not. And then I went to a shiur earlier this week on something else to do with Elul, and the rabbi began the shiur with this question. He posed the question, Elul again, Rosh Hashanah again. And so I said to myself, yeah, if every year we do Elul and every year we do Rosh Hashanah, then every year we should be doing this chapter of Tehilim. So I came home, decided that this is a chapter we're going to do this week. I don't think that there's another chapter of Tehilim that has as many commentaries, as much discussion about it. And so I hope you're going to learn something new today. I certainly did, and also have to admit, didn't remember everything that I had said before. So I'm guessing that not everybody here remembers everything that was said before. So some parts might be revisions, some parts will be new. But what a powerful chapter of Tehillim this is. I think also important to take into consideration that it isn't really Elul again, another year, or repeating this chapter again, or coming to shul and learning the same things again, and reading and up the same things again. But actually, what we're supposed to be doing in our lives is taking each year and adding to it. So rather than repeating it, we are taking that which we learned and that which we accomplished last year, and we are adding on, so that because of what we learned last time, because of what we davened last year, because of what each thing, from there we can actually go one step higher, one step further. So, LaDavid Hashem, we started saying it on Rosh Chodesh yesterday, and we will say it according to most customs until Shmini Atzeret. There are some customs to stop saying it at the end of Yom Kippur, and there are some customs to actually say LeDavid Hashem every single morning of the entire year. So very diverse. According to one's own custom, one's own nusach, we say it either at Shachris and Mincha or at Shachris and Ma'ariv, depending on thing. And I think it's important to take into consideration that saying LeDavid Hashem is a custom, not a law. Okay, it's a minhag, and it's not even an old custom. Okay, if you go and have a look at the various sources for it, it was only really became a thing in about the 1700s, which means just like 250 years ago. The first mention of it is the first time that it's mentioned as a thing that we do was in about 1706. And the first siddur that it was included in as part of the davening was the siddur that was written by Reb Shabtai Roskover, and he died already in 1745. So how come it's such an important custom? Why do we why is it like that we do it? And I saw a beautiful explanation that when Yidden take on to do something and thousands and thousands and thousands of people do it, it becomes holy just because thousands and thousands of people do it. And the best example of this is the Kotel Plaza, right? That the Kotel Plaza was never holy in itself until we lost the Beis HaMikdash, and our closest place to get to was the Kotel Plaza. And that place now has become a really holy place, and anyone who goes there feels that the coastal is so holy. So there are a lot of customs that have become holy and have become accepted and great because thousands of Jews have taken on to do that. I think similarly with Kever Rochel, there's big difference of opinion if Kever Rochel is really her gravesite or not. Um, uh, I think Rav Kook said it was not, and the rest of Ashkenazic jury said it is. But anyone who goes there, whether it is um, the place where Rachel's body is buried or it isn't, everybody agrees that there's holiness there simply because of the fact that so many people go there and daven, all the time. And so similarly with L'David Hashem Oiri, it is holy and accepted simply by the fact that so many people do it. So it's very widespread custom. As I said again, custom. It is mentioned in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, not the big Shulchan Aruch, but the abbreviated version of the Shulchan Aruch. And it's written there when it's got all the rules to do with Elul. So it says we listen to the shofar, and we also, there's a custom to say L'David Hashem Oiri. It's accepted by all Ashkenazic jury. The Sephardi jury do not say L'David Hashem. I think they have enough with saying Slichus every morning. So they accomplish it through that. Also, the followers, anyone who davens the Nusach HaGra, that's the way that the Vilna Gaon instituted tefillah, they do not say it. The Vilna Gaon was very opposed to saying the David Hashem Oiri every day because he said it is tircha d'tzibura. It's a bother for the community. People are strict with time and they come to shul and they want to be there until 7:15. They don't want to say they don't want to have to say another part of davening, which is going to add another 2, 3, 5 minutes. And the Vilna Gaon davened with a lot of kavanah, so for him it was not just 2, 3, or 5 minutes. And so he said, no, we're not adding this into our davening. Then there is a group of Hasidim who don't say this capital, and these are predominantly the Apta Hasidim, the Tzanz, and the Rezhena Hasidim. These are all descendants of Reb Elimelech of Lezensk, and he said that his people, his Chassidim, should not include this. And very bizarre story explaining why that happened. So there was a man, an ancestor of Rebbe Elimelech of Lezensk, who was called Reb Eliyahu Baal Shem. And Rabbi Eliyahu Baal Shem instituted 2 Kabbalistic customs. The one was to say a paragraph called Kegavna, which if you look in a Nusach Hari Seder, you'll see that it's added in the Friday night davening. And he also introduced the idea of saying L'David Hashem. The story is told about Rabbi Eliyahu Baal Shem, that he was one time called by the Poritz of the neighborhood and threatened that if the Poritz and his wife did not have a child before the year's end, all the Jews on that landholding would be destroyed, killed, murdered, disposed of. And Rebbe Eliyahu Baal Shem started davening. He started calling on all holy powers. Remember, he was a really great man, a Kabbalist of very high note, and nothing was happening. And he was getting scared because the Poritz really meant business. So what he did is when he saw that he's coming to a space that this lady has to be pregnant and have a son, and Hashem wasn't helping him. All the holy powers were not helping him. He turned to the Sitra Achra. That means the powers of Tumah, of like the powers that come from the other side. And he called on them for help. And sure enough, the Poritz's wife had a baby, and the Jews were all saved. However, in heaven, they were not happy with Rebbe Eliyahu Baal Shem. And the heavens called out and said, this man needs to be destroyed. And everything that this man has done, all of his descendants, everybody needs to be destroyed. And it didn't look good. Okay, it didn't look good for Reb Eliyahu Baal Shem. The Maggid went to Reb Elimelech of Lezhensk, and he said, your, I don't know if you call them ancestors when it's just a generation or two back, is in big trouble. The heavens have made a kitcha, they've made a decision that he is going to be destroyed. Everything of his, everything that he achieved in this world is going to be destroyed, his, as well as his family. It's very bad for his soul, and his soul won't be redeemed. So Rabbi Elimelech of Lezhensk asked, he said, what can I do for him? Should I daven? Should I give tzedakah? What should I do to save him? And the Maggid said, take some of the things that he instituted in this world and stop them, like make it not happen. And that will be instead of him being destroyed. So Rabbi Elimelech of Lezhensk decided that he would not, he would stop everybody from saying Kagavna and from saying the David Hashem. He said, with these two big things that Rabbi Eliyahu instituted in the world, they won't be done, and it will be as though he was destroyed. And so that's what happened. And until today, the descendants of the Chassidim who descend from Rabbi Elimelech of Lezhensk don't say Kagavna, and they don't say the David Hashem Oiri. On the other side of the coin, one of the students of the Arizal wrote, let me tell you a secret. I learned from the Arizal that anybody who says the David Hashem twice a day during the month of Elul, he can remove, and this is a loose translation, any kitrug from himself. He can nullify any harsh decree, and he can be freed from any punishments or judgments that are coming to him. So there's a little bit of an introduction to the David Hashem Oiri. Obviously, there's much more, but that's just a touch. So the simplest reason that the David Hashem is included in our davening at this time of year is because it says, it's written in a lot of places, the most famous one being the Medrash Tehilim, that there are so many words in this chapter of Tehilim that allude to the Yont of time, and therefore it's the correct thing to say now. And the words very much, Eiri v'Yishi refers to Rosh Hashanah and to Yom Kippur. Later on in the perek, it says, Ki yitzpeneni b'sukkah, that he covers me, he saves me in his sukkah, which hints to us about sukkahs. It also has the word Lulei in it. Lulei is the word Elul, the letters of the word Elul, just in a mixed up order. So it hints to Elul. And also it has the name of Hashem, the Yud and the Hey and the Yud and the Hey, name of Hashem, 13 times in this capital. So this is the time of year, which traditionally is the time of Rachamim. So you know that the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey, name of Hashem, is the name of Rachamim. And what was happening originally, a long time ago, at this time of year, was Moshe Rabbeinu was up in heaven, and he was busy pleading on behalf of the Jews that we shouldn't get wiped out, and after the sin of golden calf, and Hashem agreed in these 40 days. So this is the time of Midas HaRachamim, the attribute of mercy, and so it is appropriate that we say a chapter of Tehillim which has Hashem's name 13 times, hinting to the 13 attributes of mercy. So let's look into the capital itself, or at least let's start. So it begins with the words LeDavid, by David. Anytime you see a chapter of Tehillim that begins just with the words LeDavid, it means David himself composed this chapter of Tehillim. He didn't get any help. He didn't edit somebody else's work, but this is David's own his own composition when he's going to that he made himself. So what does he say? And we're going to look at the first few psukim together, the first three psukim. So we'll read them inside. He says, Hashem Eiri v'yishi, Hashem is my light and my salvation, mimi ira. Who should I fear? Hashem ma'oz chayai, Hashem is the fortress of my life, mimi efchad. Who should I be afraid of? Bikrav alai mereim, when evil men come near me, le'echolas basari, to ravage my flesh, sarai v'ayvai li, they are my enemies, and Sarah is another word for enemies. They stumble and fall. Im if there was a whole camp of enemy facing me, my heart would not fear. Im takum alai milchama, if they were waging a battle against me, I would still trust in this. So let's go back and understand a little bit about what David HaMelech is saying, what he's saying here, and what he's teaching us. So first, it uses the words Hashem Ayri v'Yishi. So you're taking notice that in the very first pasuk, Hashem's Yud Kei Vav Kei name is mentioned twice, and in this time, the first time, he calls Hashem Ayri v'Yishi. You are my light and my salvation. And then he continues with that. He says, since you're my light and my salvation, I don't have to be scared. He uses two expressions to say I don't have to be scared. Mimi ira and mimi efchad. Who should I fear and who should I fear? Different ways of saying it. So now I want to understand a little bit, like, what is David HaMelech doing over here? Is he using all these doubles because it's nice poetry, right? Like, you know, when we write good poetry, we say it's bright and shiny outside. And even though they both mean the same words, we think it sounds better when we put doubles. But David HaMelech, okay, he had reason for every single word that he puts here. So what does he mean when he says, Hashem Eiri v'Yishi? Hashem is my light and is my salvation. And in Chassidus, it explains to us that my light is referring, Hashem is my light when it's talking about my neshama. So you know that when we want to physically show a neshama in this world, how we do it is with a Yotzad light, right? With a light, we actually even call it a Yotzad licht, okay? That's we remembering the person with a light. That's so Hashem Eiri, Hashem is my light, is referring to my neshama. And the Yishi, and my salvation, this is talking about my physical self. So a person who has just a neshama, not a body, is not a person, and a person who has a body and not a neshama is not a person. So, and even if you have one stronger than the other, you can't really achieve much. And so we need Hashem to bring together our soul and our body, which is the words ma'oz chayai. Hashem, in the first pasuk, Hashem ma'oz chayai. Hashem is the person who is the fortress of my life. In other words, he brings together my soul and my body, because only when we have physical and spiritual together are we a person. Is it a life, right? So let's understand this a little bit more deeply. So what does it mean, Hashem Eiri? Hashem is my light, my life. So Hashem provides each of us with the light, so to speak, with the ability to see what's right and wrong. Hashem also helps us to see truth. And Hashem also, so that's of the Eiri, he gives me light. And then the Yishi, Hashem gives me the physical strength to carry out that which I know is correct. He also gives me the physical strength to fight my Yetzer Hara and to overcome temptation. And even more than that, Chazal tell us that Hashem also gives us the koyach to do teshuvah. So he first of all allows us to be good, and when we are not using that koyach, if we aren't as good as we're supposed to be, Hashem gives us the koyach. He gives us the ability to do to fix up our mess. And that's what Elul is. Elul, one of the things that Elul is. Elul is the month where we can do good, so that by the time we come to Rosh Hashanah, we are full of good. And it's also the month where we can look back and fix up that which we didn't accomplish, that we were supposed to do, that we didn't do so good. So Hashem Eiri V'Yishi, in this month of Elul, we have both of those powers. We have the power to fill ourselves up with good. We also have the power to fix up anything that we did that wasn't so good. So Elul is a time in itself. It's not just an end of the year or a preview to next year, but Elul is a thing, if we could say, in itself. So looking at over here, what is happening. So we are saying to Hashem as we face Elul, and as David HaMelech goes through in this kapitel, he's going to give us a lot of other themes of Elul and of this time of year. But the first thing I need, Hashem, I need your assistance in showing me what's right, helping me recognize the right, and also fixing up what isn't right. And the biggest thing that we need is those last few words. I have to trust. I have to trust. Bateach means absolute trust. I have to have confidence that I'm capable of doing that. That I'm actually capable of doing right and fixing wrong. That's our first step as we come into this month, and that's part of our avodah for this month. Another theme that David HaMelech is setting for us here in these first few psukim is the theme of tefillah, the theme of davening, and we'll see it much more clearly when we do pasuk Dalad. But already here he's setting the scene, so to speak, about what we need to be doing in this month of Elul, and big sentence. how to say it in big words. We have to be preparing for Yontif. We have to be preparing for the davening, the tefillah on Yontif. So with every Yontif, we're supposed to prepare for a month beforehand. So when it comes to a Yontif like Pesach, we can understand. Of course, we have to prepare for a month beforehand. How can we start physically preparing for Pesach if we don't have a time to do it? How can we physically prepare even for Shavuos, without having time before it? But Rosh Hashanah, what does it mean to prepare for this Yom Tov, and especially when it comes to davening? And Chazal tell us in one sentence, and it so got me this year. If you want Yom Tov to be inspiring, you can't just float into it. You have to prepare for it, and that doesn't mean it's sinless. You cannot arrive in Yom Tov and imagine that you'll be motivated, inspired, or whatever it is. We have to prepare, and most especially we have to prepare for davening, as David HaMelech is going to say in the next few lines. So davening is probably one of the hardest things we do. We all have our good moments where we daven and we feel completely inspired and motivated and connected to Hashem. But as a day-to-day event, davening is probably one of the hardest things we do. And in fact, it has the name avodah, work, right? Davening is hard work. And Chazal tell us that the moment a person starts davening, all the forces of the klippas of the world, the Yetzer Haras, the everything get involved. And you see at the Zoom, so I can't ask you to raise your hands and say, "Has ever felt this?" But you are just about ready to start davening. You made time. You don't have anything else that you need to be doing in this time. You made resolutions that you're going to daven, and you come to daven, and what happens? The phone rings. A cockroach comes out on the floor, and you've got to go catch it. So many things get in our way of davening. The most stupid things that we shouldn't be worrying about at all, they're all there, and the next thing we know, that half an hour that we put aside for davening is gone. Or we davened a really half-hearted davening. So we were completely bombarded by the Yetzer Hara. And what David HaMelech is asking here, he says, help me Hashem during this month of Elul to learn how to daven. And we're going to see him actually express that in the in the words of Pasuk Dalad. I ask where he says, I'm asking you, Hashem, for one thing. I want to be able to daven properly. Here in this introduction, David HaMelech says, Ayri v'yishi, Hashem, be my light, like make me want to daven, v'yishi, and be my salvation when I'm struggling with it. Bekrov alai mereim, he explains, he says, when the Yetzer Hara gets up and comes against me, give me the koyach, okay, to plod on, to be able to daven no matter what. And he finishes this little request by saying, B'zeis ani v'teach, in this I trust. Okay, it's interesting that he uses the word beteach, bitachon, rather than emunah, the word of emunah, because trust has got something much more than just belief. Trust is total confidence in Hashem. And we want to understand what he's asking over here at a few different levels, which actually I think is one level, but Chazal tell us two different levels. So the first thing says Chazal that this is talking very practically when a person is facing their physical enemies. Okay, so there are enemies, and we all understand what that is now, unfortunately. And there are enemies, and we face our enemies. The way we face them has to be b'zos ani v'teach. I trust, I'm confident that Hashem is going to help. Our other enemies are Yetzer Hara, and we also have to trust that Hashem is going to help. And then there's a number of other enemies who get up and make their camps against me and try and stop me. That's our emotional response. Sometimes it's our friends, sometimes it's our families that are our enemies to achieving things. And we're asking Hashem to help us. Help us. Don't let me be afraid of all these outside influences. I trust you, Hashem. And our response all the time to any disturbance, physical or spiritual, has to be, I don't understand this. I don't necessarily like this, but I trust this. And I think for me, what I found so fascinating about this, these psukim over here, is like one of the things I've been struggling with and making my husband crazy is how this year is a teacher going to motivate her class to daven, to actually go to shul on Yom Tov and be motivated and inspired to daven. Obviously, I have to be motivated and inspired first, so possibly the question is my own one. But last year, we stood in our classrooms and we taught the girls about davening, and we taught them about like what they should be thinking and what their kavanas should be and how blah, blah, blah. And after Yom Kippur, all in shul when they blew the shofar, and if your shul sings the victory march or whatever it is, we all sighed a relief. We said Yom Kippur is as far from us as it can ever be. Okay, it's like the whole year till next year Yom Kippur, and thank God we've done it. We davened our hearts out. We tried our best, and that shofar said to us, it's going to be a great year. And then not even a week later, the world exploded. Okay, and it's still we're still in it. And how are we going to? What is our reaction going to be to Yom Tov this year, and to how we should daven and what we do? And as I was preparing last night, I was thinking, this is exactly what it says over here. In this mess that I feel we in, that I personally, I also have to trust. And the Chofetz Chaim explains these words, he says, what I'm going through right now, that's the zeis, whatever it is that I'm going through now, happy things, sad things, the world in the mess, in the chaos that it is, whatever it is, it's the zeis, it's the this of now, I need to have confidence that this is what Hashem wants for me right now. I may not understand it, I may not like it, but I have to trust it. And I think that's the first step, or at least for me, it's the first step in motivating myself to go into Yom Tov positively, to go into Yom Tov with like inspiration, and to be able to daven this year and trust that Hashem is going to turn it into something I do understand and I do like, and for all of you too. And I think that's where we're going to go up to today and continue next week, please God. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. And good Shabbos.
Thank
Good
you.
Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.